Welcome back to Finnegan's Garage. Dude, today's going to be amazing because I'm taking tubes like this and turning them into the passenger side header of the Cadillac. And truth be told, this took me over a month to do because I did what we should all be doing. Put an hour in here, an hour in there, and the next thing I knew, the header was done. I never had a week to make it, like every day, but I had an hour here, I had an hour there, and the next thing I knew, one of the biggest tasks on this build is finished. And now that it's finished, this motor can go back to Nelson because this is the mock-up engine, and he can take the pieces off of it that go to my actual engine, like this intake, and finally assembled the 540 alcohol motor for the Cadillac. Let's go. This is what the header begins life as. A box of stainless steel mandrel bends from Stainless Headers Manufacturing. It was loud, sorry. American sourced, 304 stainless steel, mandrel bends, several different radiuses. This is the biggest one. I haven't measured this one. I don't know what the radius is, but the ones I'm gonna be using the most of, because this is such a tight fit between these frame rails, is gonna be a 4-inch radius and maybe some 3-inch ones, because just like the driver's side header, we have lots of things in the way. We have to get the first tube, which is number 2 on that side of the engine, past this. And on that side of the engine, the cylinder head is offset to the rear. This port is even closer to the rear upper A-arm mount. Like basically this port is almost pointing at it. So I don't even know that I can go up over it. I think I'm gonna have to go down. And so yeah, we need tight radius bends to make that all happen. And by the end of this video, we'll have a complete header. And like I said, then we'll send the mock-up motor to Nelson. Let's cut some tubes. This is going well. We've got the first 2 primary tubes fully welded into the collector. Again, this is an Elmer Racing billet collector. The reason we're using it is it's really short, which gives us lots of flexibility in how we're mounting this. This is a shear fab transition, goes from a T6 flange down to a 3-inch pipe. And so these 2 are in, and we're gonna slide this back up in there, put the last 2 in, and then tack this one to it, pull it back out, fully welded on the bench. And the goal is to get them welded all the way around and bottom the tubes out in here for a better seal. It's possible that we might not get the last tube welded all the way around, which makes it all the more important to make sure it's bottomed out in the collector so that it doesn't leak. And I might be able to do this, Joe. Let's see here. This goes, I think this goes like this, I think.
Backwards.
It's gotta go in the collector. No, this is right.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. All right, so. These 2 go like this, and is it? Well, it turns 180 back here at the firewall, and maybe it is. I thought it was right because that looks like the 100.
It goes this way.
Aha. Other 180. It's upside down, not backwards, upside down. It's the same but different. Okay.
but I've got this record thingy bigger in my hand.
Oh, you're doing great. You're doing great. Okay, I think we're there. Now I need my gasket. And my bolts. It's more time consuming to do it this way, but this virtually guarantees that it's gonna fit. So basically every time I put a primary tube in, I fully assemble the header, tack the primary tube to the collector, take it all apart, weld it on the bench, then put it all back together again to do the next one. And so far that has worked out well. Because so far, everything has fit perfectly. And what we'll do is tighten all 4 of the bolts for our flange, and then I'll make sure the number 4 tube is bottomed out, and then we'll drag the welder over here, put some tacks on it, and then finish welding on the bench. All right, so that one is in there. And that looks like that's the happy medium right there. That's bottomed out, and that's bottomed out. And then we have clearance to the firewall. We have clearance between those 2 tubes. I'm going to shove a piece of rubber in there just to be sure. Okay, so that one was like that, and yeah, so basically, Joe, what we'll do is we'll have you push down on this onto the rubber, which pushes that in, and then just shove that right there.
Okay.
And then I'll put some tacks right here and we'll be good.
Okay.
Beauty. We got that one done, that one done. Now it's time to weld this one. And by having the 4th one out, I can get in here, or at least real close. And because we bottomed the tube out in there, even if I don't get it completely welded, the odds of it leaking are reduced greatly. So, and then I'm purposely leaving this transition unwelded, just in case when I weld all this, if it moves around and this grows, then I can cut this off, tweak this, and final weld it after the fact. That didn't happen on that side. On that side, this didn't move at all. The whole thing bolted back up, so I was able to weld that fully, but I'm not taking any chances. Okay, we're getting close. 3 of the 4, all in place. The last one will be the most difficult because getting into this area is going to be hard. Not impossible, but hard. But the better the fit up of the tube into the collector, the less chance it leaks. So think I'm gonna pull this whole thing apart and assemble it on the bench. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, what? I can't get it in like that?
It might have moved.
Really?
Yeah, this tube looks like it's off.
Holy crap. By a lot, dude. How did it move that much?
Well, or unless when these curve, it brings it in that way, which is possible.
That's a lot.
Or take the flange off the motor, take the thing over to the bench and see if we can assemble it there. Because this one's not going in all the way. But yeah, all right, so we have an issue. Just welded this primary tube in. The first two fit perfect, but they're relatively straight. This is the longest tube in the whole header, and it grew or it moved or something, because if you start putting the back two in, this front tube is off by 5/8 of an inch. It has moved this way. And I'm not sure how it happened. You know, it didn't grow, but it probably moved. I had a tack here and a tack here. I did not have a tack on this side, and maybe that's the problem, is because I started the weld here and worked this way, and maybe when I welded here and here, it pulled this thing over. So I think what we're gonna do is take the whole thing off the car. We'll probably cut it at this weld here and just turn it and tweak it to get it to go in the port. Not thrilled about it, but that's really our only option because it is not going to go together.
That's way off. Well, that's a bummer. It was going so well.
Yeah, the other side, you know, we built it the same way, but I'm betting because I had a tack here and a tack here and not a tack here, I think when I welded it, it drew it over. We'll fix it. It was going really well, but we'll fix it. It's all good. So, yeah. I think we'll just cut it right here at the weld and then put this back up in there, tweak this till it fits, and then do our last one.
Okay. You know, this side hasn't been very kind to us.
Maybe it's a karma thing, you know? Maybe pausing this build to work on the GMC.
And it's fighting us now?
Yeah, maybe it's upset, you know? Maybe it doesn't understand that I broke my leg and couldn't stand here all day fabricating. Maybe it doesn't, maybe it's cold-hearted and doesn't care. I don't want to think that way. We haven't even driven yet. We haven't even gone out on the road together. I don't want to develop a negative opinion already, so I'm not going to. I choose to believe that it was operator error, not the car. All right. No, fix this. So this is the piece we cut off. It needs to move rearward, and I'm hoping that by shortening it and turning it, I can get it there, but the odds are good. I'm probably gonna have to build a new one of these. Maybe, maybe not. You know, maybe we can cut it here on the other side of that weld, get rid of that segment and get it in there, but let's find out. Let's see. All right, so we need that to go into there. Maybe that will work. No. It's too far forward still. That's too high. maybe I can shorten this and get it there, but I don't know. So it's too high and it's too far forward. So I think what we'll do is we'll cut some of this off, lower it down, and see what happens. But I have a feeling, you can see this edge is past that edge there. I have a feeling we're gonna have to cut this weld too and move this thing back.
Move the whole thing back.
Yeah. And it's not much. I mean, it's very close, but twisting it gets it back in line, but then that tube is not going that way. It's not going straight into the port, so it's either make a pie cut deal in here or shorten this tube and move it back and then weld this back together.
Shortening it would be easier.
Yeah. Yup. All right. First problem I see is that not only did the primary tube move forward on the motor, but it moved out and it's kind of close to the frame rail. So we probably need to cut that weld and rotate that tube towards the cylinder head. How does your piece fit now?
Well, my piece fits on there like that, but we're far from being in the cylinder head, as you can see. This is where it should be.
Will it sit there? Oh, shove it in the head? And then will it sit on the piece below it so you can move your hand?
Not really.
Okay, so.
How's that? Let's see.
All right, we have potential here. We could rotate that tube away from the frame rail, but then that makes the angle of the cut wrong on the piece going into the head. So we may need to not only rotate this away about 1/8 of an inch, but then re-angle the cut and cut a new piece there to get in. But it's fixable. Everything's fixable. And then after we do that, then we can put this last piece in, which this piece still fits. I just chucked it up in there. It does go in. And this last one, the nice thing about it is when it goes in here, we can tack it to the flange, because once it's welded here, this isn't coming back apart. So that guarantees that if it's tacked on the flange and we weld it here, this stays in alignment. But we have to fix that piece first. So yeah, I would pull the header off and then cut that tube at that weld there, so that we can rotate it. Actually, I'd cut it. If you cut it right on the weld and I go weld it, you're gonna see it. If you cut it behind the weld,
back here more on the straight piece,
you could do that.
that way it literally will just roll flat.
Yeah, we'll add another weld. That's fine. Yeah, because otherwise, if you cut on each side of the weld to get rid of the weld, then the piece gets shorter, and I don't know if that helps us or not. Like, maybe it does. Does shortening it help us at all? Like if you put that piece straight up and down.
Actually, it would, because see how this would turn?
Yeah, rather than angling it back. Yeah, we need to shorten that, so let's.
Just a hair. I don't know if we want to shorten it that whole weld. I'll cut it on the back side of the weld. We'll turn it, see what happens.
Yeah, cut it on the back side of the weld, and if we have to grind a little bit of the weld down, I can run over the old weld.
Okay.
We just don't want to cut on both sides of the weld, because then that piece may get too short.
Way too short, I think.
Yeah. Cool.
I think we can repair this. We have the technology.
We have the technology.
Well, not really.
And time. starting to go. That one's in, that one's out.
The back one's out?
I think so, just a little bit. There you go. There we go.
Is it in?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're good there?
I think so. How's the flange lined up?
Looks nice. Lines up. Looks like it lines up good.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Here we go. There's our header. Right now it is bolted onto a stainless headers manufacturing fixture plate. Has 3 different bolt patterns in it for 5.3 Chevy bore space big block, 5-inch bore space big block Chevy, and 484 bore space. And this thing's pretty cool. It has ports through it that go in this way and then turn up inside of our exhaust ports so that you can back purge this thing. They sell this thing on their website. Here's the part number. I'll also put it in the description, but they sell this thing other configurations for like LS and Fords. And basically you just take one of these nipples off, hook up the purge hose from our tank here. I just use quick disconnects, and then we'll flow about 7 CFH of cubic feet per hour of pure argon through that thing during the rest of the welding process. So as you can see, we have welded 3 of the 4 primary tubes into our Elmer Racing collector. Then we have gone back and installed the 4th one and tacked all 4 tubes to the flange. We'll leave the flange bolted to the fixture plate during the welding process, and we won't be able to get all the way around on the outside of the flange just because there's certain areas that it's just not possible to get to, like right down in there. You can't get through it this way. But we'll flip this over and weld the backside, and that'll take care of it 360 degrees. And then this front side will just give it some more support. So there we go. Got to weld that. Then we got to weld our transition from our T6 flange to our collector. Then it goes back on the car and we install our wastegate mount, which will go right here. And then the header's done. And that means this thing can go back to Nelson Racing Engines. We can send them the mock-up engine after all this time, and they can assemble my actual engine and dyno test it with our turbo kit on here. If you're questioning this, why does this look like this? That's because this comes out of the port and immediately has to turn down and left to get us access not only to the chassis so that this clears our control arm mount, but also to get us spark plug access and access to that bolt. There were a lot of considerations, which is why this thing ended up being so sharp here. But other than that, I'm happy with it. And yeah, not even remotely equal length, nor do I care. This is not a max effort race thing. This engine will make more power than it needs to do the job that I want it to do, and it fits and it'll work, and we can finally move on from this process to something else. Let's start welding. Okay, everybody, header's done. So excited. He is finally welded. Let's go see if it still fits. I think it will. And no, I am not concerned about the fact that this is not equal length. What I was concerned about was getting this to fit in the car where I could remove it and reinstall it without messing with the turbo, while still having access to all the spark plugs, all the bolts, and getting that tube past the upper control arm mount. That is why this header looks the way it does. And because this is not a max effort deal, the fact that they're equal length does not bother me. But if you can make them equal length, you know, by all means, go ahead. It wouldn't hurt. Let's see if she'll go in. All right. Clears the mount for the upper control arm. That is nice. I'm going to put the end bolts in because then I'm going to get off this trouble bus here shortly. There we go. All right. There we go. Boom. I got 2 trees. I'm thinking studs would be better for this. Check it. It's official. We have headers on both sides of this engine. All I got to do on this side is connect the exhaust dump to the exhaust housing and plumb the wastegate to match this side. And the exhaust is officially done on this. And that means, oh wow, this is a big moment right here. That means the mock-up engine can go back to Nelson, because he's been waiting on me for a long time to finish the turbo kit. Now granted, the cold side isn't done, and I'm not going to connect the charge tubes yet, because I want to make sure I have my actual engine with the actual deck height, the intake fully bolted down before I go making this aluminum tube from here to here and from there to there. But as soon as I get the actual engine in here, dude, car will start falling together. Hard part's done. I'll keep you updated here on Finnegan's Garage. As always, thanks for hanging out, especially those of you that went to fsmgarage.com and bought the merch. Because as always, every poor decision you make involving clothing allows me to keep screwing around with stuff like this. Thanks, everybody. See ya.